Greetings, Vault Hunters. Welcome to the Bordercast. I'm Mitsu, here as always with my incredible host, Tasachka, coming to you every week to break down all things Borderlands. Thank you so much for joining us on Twitch, now on Spotify, on YouTube if you're watching the VOD from wherever you're watching it. And of course, we'll be bringing it to a whole bunch of other platforms very, very soon. Thank you guys for joining us. We're going to be talking about a ton of fun things this week, including Tess and I talking about our usual weeks in Pandora. Hot Fixes Applied, everybody's favorite segment where we break down this week's patches. We're going to ask a very simple question of where did we go? Like, what has happened now that we are officially in Mayhem 2.0? Has it been a very positive change? Has it had some struggles? We're going to break all that down for everybody. And we ask, are we going in the right direction in terms of the style of Borderlands? Prolific community member King Gathalion raising a question: was the art style and direction better when it was gritty or when it was a little bit more fun-loving? And of course, we've got a couple other cool things as well. Some new merch that you guys might want to check out. But first, Tess, how are you, bud? How was your week?
I'm good. I finally got to play some Revenge of the Cartels, enjoy some Mayhem 2.0. I'm so happy. I definitely have not had enough time to play, but the time that I've had to play has been really, really awesome. And I'm still chasing those guns. All the guns that everybody's talking about, definitely still on the hunt for those, but loving it so far.
Oh, yes. There are guns aplenty. What is it? Almost everybody's build has gone out the window on some level.
A little bit.
And has been replaced by most of the new guns. The Anarchy, I think, still holds up. And we'll get into this a little bit later. But we have a couple new laureates of the Borderlands community. One of them, the Sandhawk, reimagined as a sniper rifle. I know we talked about that quite a bit, but we're going to break down a little bit more in terms of what happened with that gun and what happened with the Yellow Cake and a bunch of other guns. But you got to stay tuned for that. It's been an interesting week. I've noticed a lot of positive and negative community feedback so far. A lot of the positive has been that a lot of the modifiers are super cool. I enjoyed playing this week on the stream to an incredible degree. It was so much fun to be able to sit down and try breaking each of the modifiers down and enjoying what they threw at you. Galaxy Brain really changes the game for great ways. It really makes it a more enthusiastic shooting process because you know where your target is. And I can't remember what the other one is called, but it's the one where your recoil and handling get like completely thrown askew, but your damage goes up by 100%. So that's super worth it too. What is it they say? Get ready for a bumpy ride, I think is the flavor text on that one.
Yeah, that one I only ever allowed myself to experience when we were doing our testing. Every time I rolled it when I was re-rolling modifiers while actually playing this past week, I was like, nope. Yeah, let's not do that because it's just one of those, especially for me with the trackball, it's rough. Like you can learn to compensate for it when you've settled on a gun. I feel like once I kind of figure out which guns are my new friends, as you so aptly put it in our video, I'll maybe give that modifier another chance. But switching guns a lot and kind of trying to see what's working for me now, just completely, skews my experience of any new gun that I try. So I'm like, I definitely don't want this to be going on right now because everything is really hard to shoot.
If I may, there are the way that they've built the game now, aside from the Yellow Cake, and like I said, we will get into that. If you want to just play with, there's no one gun that is all encompassing anymore. You can't just pick up a Maggie and kill everything in your view. You can't do that. You can pick up a Sandhawk and kind of get away with it a little bit, but you want to stay towards the elemental side of things. And so you can kind of push that out too. But unless you're just using that one particular gun for the purpose of just blowing up everything in the room, there's no one fix. I feel like I can use a Hellshock now and it's powerful. I feel like I can use my Lob now and it's powerful. I feel like I can use my Anarchy. I feel like I can use the Sandhawk. There's so many options. The sickle has held up really well. Not like amazingly well, but you can make it work. And the whole point of this game isn't every gun being top tier. It's you can make it work. You have your on top super omega level guns that are the greatest of the great, and then you have your mid tiers that still get you from point A to point B. They might not be impressive, they might not be flashy, but they will work, and that's what matters. There's so much that you can use to great effect. So
yeah, there's a ton of things that are still viable. There's a ton of things that have changed. I'm definitely still trying to find my footing. People kept, and I think people always do this when they find any streamer. They're always like, just go to the maximum difficulty immediately, right? Go to Mayhem 10 and just play Mayhem 10 and etc. And I definitely cannot do that. I am struggling at Mayhem 6. So, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm not as OP as, lazy. But honestly, it still behooves you to work through the levels, at least to some degree. And not every gun is going to work for every situation. Like the Krakatoa worked for a lot of situations. But
yeah, it does.
But not every single situation. The lob is still king in certain scenarios. So it just kind of depends, in places where the lob works really well, sometimes in other places where you think it might work really well, it absolutely doesn't work because of the range. So
yeah, the Krakatoa, I'm glad you brought that up. That has been my God Queen Tyrene send. That gun does so much work, but you feel it. There is a reason why sniper ammo is as limited and exclusive as it is. And the Krakatoa and the Sandhawk are why. Because if you had as much ammo as you did for a submachine gun, you would just use the Krakatoa and that would be it. Or you would just use the Sandhawk and that would be it. But they gave us a little bit more. They gave us a little bit more with this patch, which is nice. But at the end of the day, you still have to switch guns if you're going to use it. You can't get away with it unless you have some sort of ammo regen, which on Zane, the way I play, doesn't have that. And I know I'll take a lot of flack probably on the forums or somewhere else. Well, you don't really play the meta way. That's fair. I can grant that because I use clone and I use drone. Clone and drone is not meta by any stretch of the imagination. But do I kill things? I do. And that goes back to what we were talking about on the top of the show. That is, you can play certain ways, and are they the best ways? Maybe not necessarily, but they're fun and you can enjoy them and they work. And that's one of the things we've really been encouraging, I think, on the show the past couple of weeks, is that the build diversity is still there if you want to utilize it. But you have to take the initiative and try.
Yeah, and what worked before may not work now, may not work after hot fixes. Things change in this game rather quickly, which is both a positive and a negative. Like for those of us that don't like change, it's hard, but it keeps things interesting, which is a good thing in my opinion, ultimately. So,
yeah, and keeping things in that same vein of keeping things interesting. Now, I imagine you've completed Revenge of the Cartels. How did you like it?
It's amazing. So I haven't finished all of the challenges yet because I was trying like a doofus to do it all in Mayhem 6 when I wasn't really quite ready for Mayhem 6. So I got a little bit stuck on some of the later challenges, but it's really fun. I really love the location. It's beautiful. They did such a good job with that. The entire concept is hilarious. Maurice eats a bad guy and we have to save him. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, I think it's really, really great. I think the consensus that I've been hearing from the rest of the community is that they want it to stay permanently.
Yes.
It's a new
Killer
location.
6 has been a huge proponent of that.
Yeah. And I honestly completely agree with him. I feel like the environment being so different, the location being such a different new location, it's basically like having a new map. Like, I don't want that to go away. People have mentioned in the past that they would want Heck to return, and I don't disagree because it's a very cool arena space. It would be amazing if we had that back on a semi-regular basis at least. But this is even more so. That's like one arena space. This is, I mean, there's the path to get to it, but like the arena space is really the showstopper with that one. With this one, the entire like path to the mansion, the mansion, everything inside the mansion, the whole thing is beautiful and really, really interesting and cool to run around in and fight people at. And I'm with K6. I would like to see it stick around and not go away. After the event
he's gone so far as to on Twitter on the record say that he would pay to keep it around. So that should tell you everything you need to know about this particular map. And whoa boy, have you done it enough times that you've experienced all three of the side bosses by now and everything?
No, I haven't done all three of them yet. Yeah, the last one was the one that I got stuck on.
I mean, that's fine. What is it? Fish slap is pretty brutal. But he drops a great grenade. Like oh my goodness. Have you seen this grenade?
Which grenade?
Okay, there's a grenade. I forget what it's called. It's the fish. I think it's literally called. It might be literally just called the fish slap. But it is a grenade, and it does not scale off of grenade damage. Are you ready for this? You're not ready for this. It scales off of melee damage.
What?
If only melee builds were slightly more viable that you could do them at Mayhem 10. This feels like an apology to melee players. Like, hey, we've heard you. We are going to make this happen. And here's a grenade to kind of show you that you are going to get to play the game you want to play very soon. Because it scales off of melee damage.
Yeah.
You literally... The fish cake. Yes, thank you. Chat's yelling at me right now because I forgot the name of the fish cake.
I think I did actually see this, but it didn't occur to me to use it because I don't really melee all that much. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm addicted to my hex grenade. I'm not looking forward to having to farm that on Mayhem 10, but it's going to happen at some point.
Well, I mean, we still have an unfortunate issue with it. I don't know if that's specifically resolved as of this patch or this hotfix, I should say, and we'll cover that in hotfix apply. Just I want to make sure I run through the list and we get to that because I don't want to give the people false information here. But grenades were not scaling as of last week, nor were shields. And so it would basically be irrelevant if you wanted to refarm it anyway, because if you got one, it would still be on par with what you have now. So we'll review on hotfixes applied. I think I saw it in there, but I'm not going to promise anybody because sometimes I read things in my brain that I wish were happening.
Yeah.
And then you review it and you're like, oh, that's not in there.
Yeah, it's
I
very
lied to everybody. I'm bad.
No, it's very strange. My brain does this too. I think everybody's brain sometimes does this. Yeah. I have this issue with time where I think that something should take a certain amount of time, and so in my head that's the amount of time that it takes when really it's like twice that. So I totally understand what you mean. We will go through everything in the hotfix carefully together. We'll see what's in there. So
I feel like it's a wishful brain.
Wishful brain, yeah.
Wishful brain. I can be accused of being a dreamer rather often, so that makes perfect sense to describe me.
Yeah. I'm sure that if it is not fixed yet, that I assume that they would probably be working on it to make sure that it's fixed soon. But we'll see. Maybe it's already fixed.
What did you feel about Joey Ultraviolet there? Did you have fun during that boss fight at least?
Yeah. He's an interesting character. Definitely an interesting character. All of the bad guys in the DLCs and all of the events so far have been amazing, and he is definitely no exception. I just think this whole event is so fun, and so I'm like from the very beginning when you slide down that crazy chute to get down there. You kind of can't miss the fact that it's going to be a good time. So I really, really hope that it stays because it really is a wonderful activity that I'm enjoying. I know a lot of people are enjoying.
Yeah. And I believe it stays around until June 4th as it is right now. June 4th or 6th. For some reason, those numbers always get confused in my mind. But it's sometime in early June. So you've got all of next month. And this is the last day I get to say it's next month because literally tomorrow is May. You have all of next month to take care of getting all of the achievements that you need to get done, getting all of the skins, everything else that you want, and farming up all of the guns and grenades and everything else that drops during it. Because once that goes away, it's gone for a while. We don't know when Revenge of the Cartels is coming back, but the reception to this particular event was very enthusiastic. even more so than Bloody Harvest. So I have a very strong feeling this one might make a comeback sooner rather than later, or at least I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that's what we interpret that to be. So yeah, I mean, what? So you said you were doing it at Mayhem 6.
Mhm.
And then did you have to scale that back a little bit, or was Mayhem 6 kind of like your sweet spot right now?
No, I'm not prepared for Mayhem 6. All of my stuff is like Mayhem 1 or Mayhem 4. That's basically like the things that I had before. I mean, they didn't scale the same way, right? Like things didn't have higher stats because you earned them on Mayhem 1 versus Mayhem 4 in the past,
Sure.
before Mayhem 2.0. So like the things that I earned, like my Hex Grenade, for example, I did not want to farm that on Mayhem 4. I tried for a while and it was an absolute like painful nightmare of unhappiness. And so I dropped down to Mayhem 1 and I got it almost immediately and it was wonderful. So, and it was the same. It was a level 57 grenade, had nice stats, it was exactly what I wanted. Now, where it is now in terms of the Mayhem levels, I don't really know because it just wasn't measured that way before. But suffice it to say, it's not strong enough when I'm at Mayhem 6. And the same goes for my lobs, which I did farm at Mayhem 4, but they're not strong enough at Mayhem 6. The same goes for my Anarchy. The same goes for pretty much everything in my loadout except for the Krakatoa and the Cutsman that you gave me. So, yeah. So basically, I need new things. So I dropped down to Mayhem 3 to kind of play through a little bit more of the Revenge of the Cartels event, and then I just realized I really wanted new items. I wanted to redo my build at a higher level. So I went back to Mayhem 6 and started trying to farm for some of the things that are sort of essential to my build, like my my Siren mod thingy, Spiritual Driver, which I did not get the one that I have. The one that I have, granted, is a god roll, so it's very hard to get. But that's what I'm working on right now. I'm probably going to try to get some new lobs and maybe a new shield and just some other things before I go back to trying Spiritual Driver, because that's just going to take a long time to find.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of there's a lot of refarming, and it's funny. I hear so many people say, "Oh, I don't want to have to refarm my guns all over again." Well, I mean, you're playing Borderlands, right? Like that's the gameplay loop. That's the fun of it. It's you get more guns to get stronger. And I've never felt, at the beginning there were some nerfs, so there were people who did feel a little bit weaker, but that sting kind of went away when they started readjusting everything and preparing for Mayhem 2.0. And this we're going to talk about in a little bit too. But I never felt consistently like I was being weakened. It's always been a general increase in I'm stronger now. These guns hurt more. I'm getting higher percentages on my damage. And that's good. That's a good way to do it. I kind of wish it wasn't specifically because it was being patched in that way and that the slope was already in there. But you know what? That's just the way games go sometimes. They're like MMOs don't get it right on the first try too, and you need adjustments and changes. That's life. So I wish it was a little bit more of a gradual curve that was already programmed in there, but I'm okay that now we're really hitting our stride. And well, we'll get to it in a little bit, because more importantly, first, it's time for that indomitable segment that we have every single week. Hot fixes applied. Oh, that crap.
So good. So good. So many hot fixes to talk about today. Seriously, there's a lot here. A whole lot here. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So one of the most important things that they mention is this week, Loot the Universe moves on to Promethea. And they're going to address the drop rates in Mayhem mode. Thank God, because that had been a big point of contention. I don't know if you know this or not, but on Mayhem 10, anointments were not dropping properly, and people were recording and reporting that drop rates for legendaries in general were lower than they should have been at like Mayhem 6. So for me, I was already at Mayhem 6 and I was bopping around having a grand old time being comfortable. And then you hear from like Lazy and K6 and Jolts, it's like, hey, where are the guns? where'd they go? I don't understand. And so it seems like they're going to take care of this. So hopefully, if you don't have it already by the time that you've watched this, if it's live or if it's on Spotify or listen to it, I guess I should say on Spotify or YouTube, then by the time that you view this, hopefully you'll have that hot fixes applied, which is the name of the segment, on your game, and you will know that you are being patched. They wanted to thank everybody.
Tiny
Yes.
interruption. Just a note, since you brought it up, we are now on Spotify, you guys, and on SoundCloud and on Stitcher. So if you like to listen to your podcast instead of watching it visually, you can check us out. You can just search for Bordercast on Spotify, on SoundCloud, or on Stitcher, which is an app that you can get for iOS or for Android. And just listen on your phone, wherever you are, driving, etc., anytime, which is great.
Stitcher.
Mm-hmm.
The app is called Stitcher.
Yes, the service is called Stitcher.
Is this like something that, it's for people who like knit or crochet or something like that? Like,
no, it's just
or maybe like a needlepoint kind of thing. Well, no, I mean, like the name just kind of like harkens towards that. It's like, oh, what is it, the term that they like to use? It's I can't remember right now. But there is a segment of the population who really prides themselves on their needle points and crocheting and knitting and stuff like that.
That stuff is super cool.
It would have been really funny if like the reason it's named that is literally because it's something that you would listen to while you're doing some of your arts and crafts work. Because it's called Stitcher, right?
Maybe it stitches all the audio podcasts together into a fun mess of awesome, as somebody in chat put it. I don't know. But it's a really cool platform. It's definitely super easy to download and use. And so if you're on iOS right now, that's the best way, or Spotify, of course. We are hopefully going to be on iTunes and Google Play Music soon, also coming soon. But you can find us right now on Spotify and SoundCloud and Stitcher. Anyway, back to hotfixes applied.
Sorry. Stitcher. All right, I got it out of my system. We're good now. Okay, yes, we can move back over to it. Yeah, okay, so Mayhem 2.0, they've been closely monitoring the feedback, as they tend to be, and they do, and I want to make a big point of this, by the way, because this is very important to me. Everything that you suggest, whether it be on Twitter or Reddit or YouTube, or if you suggest it to us, when we bring it to them, or they see it, and I promise they're seeing it, they do their best to find ways within the vision of the game to implement this. And I'm going to point this out for you guys real quick. So look me dead in my eyes right now, because I'm talking directly to you. Over the course of the past year, we have had so many suggestions that we brought up to the team, and they were successfully implemented either wholly or in some form. And there was no point where we ever felt like we couldn't do so. They were always open and receptive. And they said, if this is a feasible thing, we will make this happen. And there were times where there was friction. Absolutely. But you know what? We worked through it, and we all have a great and healthy relationship. And that's not me just like bloviating. That's the truth. That is the God's honest truth. So if you ever feel, or anybody ever might mention to you, that it is otherwise, that is not correct. It's absolutely not correct.
Yeah,
because we worked hard.
We've absolutely been heard by them and listened to by them and supported by them. And that goes for, I think, the community at large. It's not just us that stream. We're just kind of your voice. You guys come into our channels, all of our channels, mine, Mitsu's, Lazy's, K6's, Damn It to Hell's, Liz's, everybody's. And, you comment on our YouTube videos, you come into our channels and you chat, and you say things, and in the Discord as well. They are paying attention on Reddit. They're absolutely paying attention. So if you have a thought or a suggestion or even a problem, definitely feel free to let them know in a constructive way so that they can, figure out and reproduce a problem if you have the problem, so that they can, if you have a cool solution for something, share with them because they might implement it. They definitely are listening and paying attention. And so much of the stuff that we've asked for, they've given us. So hopefully that continues.
More than ever in Borderlands 2. I can tell you that 112%, because what was the running joke? Nerf kunai, buff money shot. that was seen as perhaps one of the most tone-deaf things Gearbox ever did. Have we had a time where that happened in this game specifically, where something that was so overpowered wound up getting buffed, while something that was considered to be almost essential wound up getting nerfed into dirt, which stayed that way for over a year? I don't know if everybody remembers that, but Mitsu remembers. But they eventually did buff Kunai again, so thank God for that, because Kunai was so much fun. Anyway, back to what they're taking care of. Since the patch, they've released additional hotfixes and addressed issues where they had to disable, unfortunately, boundary issues in Drone Ranger. That's why I didn't see Drone Ranger when I was rerolling a bunch of times. I didn't know that. That's sad. I really liked that one.
Yeah, me too.
Dang. That was one of my favorite. Oh, man.
I'm sure they'll bring it back. You know, they just need to resolve whatever the issue is.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's absolutely important to have stability in the game, you know, especially for people playing on console. So I think it was the right thing to do. And I'm sure that they'll address whatever the issue is and fix it. And we'll see it again. Because I agree, it was a very fun modifier.
Yeah, we got to play around a little bit with it in our preview, which the video is up on YouTube right now if you want to see a little bit more of our Mayhem 2.0 adventure. And I believe Drone Ranger is featured in some of that footage. Yes. I do remember specifically playing around with it. So you can see what it looks like then and hope that it comes back, because it is really cool. Anyway, so, and I believe that is youtube.com/Borderlands. Yes, if I am remembering correctly. Anyway, so they're continuing to focus their efforts on addressing all of our concerns. Today's adjustments to the drop rates and anointments are another step toward incorporating community feedback. See, they're listening, and believe me, we raised this as a huge issue almost immediately. I can tell you right now, I saw some of the feedback that Jolts, K6, and Lazy were putting in there, and they were mad. Subpar Lover was another one too, who was like, dude, can my community's a little mad. Can we up those? So again, they're being listened to. It's happening, right? So there you go. If you are experiencing any issues or want to provide additional feedback, as always, please support a ticket to support.2k.com. Yeah. And that's about it for all of that kind of stuff. Oh, wow. Do you wanna read this one? Because one of my favorite events just went away.
The co-op loot drop ends today at 9 a.m. Pacific. So as of right now, when we are streaming, it is already over. Yeah, unfortunately, that was a fun one. But the Loot the Universe mini event is continuing. It moves across the galaxy to Promethea. So now you can farm your favorite things to your heart's content on Promethea, right? And then until May 7th. May 7th, it jumps to Eden 6. So if you miss Eden 6 and the green and the awesome that lives there, definitely you'll be able to head there after May 7th. I mean, you can head there now, of course, but it's more efficient if you go there next week.
And Borderlands players are nothing if not perhaps some of the most efficient players of video games I've ever seen in my damn life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Some of these other changes, they've adjusted the drop rate for legendary items in Mayhem mode. Nice. Yeah, so I haven't played since the hotfix. I was gonna play this morning, but it was raining, so I ended up going for a run instead. And I'm gonna be streaming later tonight, so I'll get to play some, and we'll see how those drop rates are now. Adjusted the drop rates for anointed gear in Mayhem mode. That was one of the major problems. That's been fixed, it looks like. Activated the Loot Universe event on Promethea. Lowered the OPQ system's secondary rate of fire to prevent stability concerns due to the gunner's ability to spawn an excessive number of drones. Addressed a reported concern that badass enemies in the Guns, Love, and Tentacles DLC were sometimes only dropping common and rare items. That's nice. I definitely remember encountering that. Addressed a reported progression blocker that could sometimes occur when enemies would fail to spawn during Protect the Nibblenomicon. That was a fun mission.
Yeah, it was. I'd be really sad if that one broke and ruined an experience for somebody, because that entire, especially the ending, the payoff for that entire mission was so worth it.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah. I never ran into this issue, but I'm really glad they fixed it because it's a very fun mission. Addressed a reported concern that the Amorettes would stand up and float when being defeated with the Dominate status effect during the Horror in the Woods. Cool. Addressed a reported stuck spot behind the wooden wall during the Shadow of Cursehaven. Cool. Addressed a reported stuck spot on the pipes during the Nibblenomicon. Addressed a reported stuck spot on the right of the Amoret camp during hollow in the woods. Okay.
Mhm.
Reduce the time between Moxtail's donations on the EchoCast from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. Wow. That's
Hey.
awesome. Huge thank you
Hey.
from those of us that love that event, which is basically every streamer ever that uses EchoCast. Why wouldn't
Yes.
you? If you guys are not aware of what that is, EchoCast is a really cool extension, especially for those of you watching on Steam. If you watch a streamer on the Borderlands channel or any of the other awesome streamers in the directory, us on our own channels, Tessachka Meets a Show, you can use the EchoCast Twitch extension to interact with us in game. You can see our inventory, you can see our loadout, you can see our skill trees and our builds and everything at any time when it's convenient for you, even when we're in the middle of combat. You can also do things like um, participate in the rare chest lottery. So if we find a special chest and there's a really awesome item in there, you can mouse over the video and click on the lottery and potentially win the same thing that we got in that awesome chest. You can also, if you're really enjoying the show, choose to tip and help out your streamer at the same time. You can buy them a mocktail. It's kind of like a cocktail, but it's full of super awesome in-game boost powers, tasty boost powers. You can choose to use bits of sugar, which is kind of similar to the bits that you cheer with in streams normally, to tip your streamer and also buy them a drink that gives them a booster that increases their fire rate or their elemental damage or their health regen or anything like that. Some of us will also turn on badass events occasionally when convinced to do so by our communities, where you guys can spawn an extra badass at random times in the game and power it up for us to fight, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool
I
extension.
haven't turned that on in a long time. I
Yeah,
actually
I need
miss
to.
those a
I
little
need to
bit.
do it again.
Yeah.
I'm kind of saving it for special occasions, basically, because when it's on all the time, it makes certain things, especially if you're already on a very high mayhem mode, very challenging. But like if we do charity streams or if we're doing some kind of celebration stream, definitely it's kind of a fun thing to turn on. So
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And just as a point too, this is something else that they're probably going to be looking at. If they haven't addressed this in the hotfix, by the way, I imagine it's probably something that's going to require a much larger patch. So just to preface this,
yeah.
chest loot is, according to chat right now, useless. And it's not really in quotes because it kind of is per se because it's
Well,
not scaling properly.
only at higher mayhem modes. Like if you're still
Right,
playing the
yeah.
normal game, then obviously chests are still fine. It's just
Yes.
once you get to mayhem mode, once you've increased your mayhem mode up to 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever, the chest items are not scaling properly. So guns, grenades, everything is not scaling properly if you get it from a chest.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I haven't seen in here if that's been fixed yet, but if it's not, then I'm sure that it just requires a more deep fix. And will be coming. They are aware of all these issues.
I unfortunately do not believe that it is because it's kind of a wrap up here towards the end here. More or less just that if you've noticed a potential concern that has affected you that is not addressed in this update, please send us your data. Many factors are at work, and collecting info from a variety of folks can go a long way to help determine the commonalities, identify the root causes, and address confirmed issues. And of course, the best way to get that data to everybody that can actually make a decision about what to do about it would be to open a support ticket and provide a summary, the frequency of the issue, the platform you're playing on, your game state when you experience the issue, and do you know, just off the top of your head, what steps we can take to make this problem happen again, such as replicating the problem, essentially. Because that's the real challenge of actually finding and solving bugs, is being able to replicate said bug so that the people can go in and then debug it.
Yeah, they can't figure out what's going wrong if they can't see the thing actually going wrong. It's kind of like if you ever had your internet go out and that really awesome internet service provider guy comes to your house and all of a sudden your internet is working and you're like, but it wasn't working. And then he's like, I can't do anything, right? Because it's working now and I don't see a problem, so I can't fix the problem, right? And then he leaves and 5 minutes later your internet is down again and you're like, So you got to figure out what happened right before your internet went out. Maybe your cat got behind your couch and like sat on your router or something, Same idea here, whether you have a cat or not. Something is going on to cause the issue. So the more information you give them about the steps that you were doing, everything that was going on when the issue happened, the more likely they are going to be able to recreate the issue and then fix it, right? See what's going wrong and, make the corrections that they need to make.
Yes. So with that, that's pretty much a summary of all of your hot fixes this week. There really wasn't too many. There were a couple good ones. Hopefully drops are now more in tune where they should be. It seems like chests rather have not been patched yet. So I think that that's either going to require a little bit more of a deep dive by the devs, or it might require a larger patch as opposed to a quick hot fix. So that might take some time and just unfortunate. But where do you support a report, by the way? That is submit a report. That is support.2k.com. Support.2k.com for all of your reporting needs when it comes to Borderlands.
Yeah.
There you go. So, boy, the Dr. Ian Malcolm, legendary chaotician, self-described, once said, "Boy, do I hate being right all the time." I can relate, guy who was played by Jeff Goldblum. I can relate. Borderlands was seen in a very good place. We even read some of the articles as soon as 2 weeks ago from many members of the community, from Paul Tassi over at Forbes, and in general, people seem very happy with the state of Mayhem. And I said at that time, people are going to be mad when Mayhem 2.0 comes out solely because it's different, even though it was exactly what we were asking for. We were asking for more longevity, higher challenges, and better quality loot.
Yeah.
And I said it then. I said, this is the kind of person who, when that thing drops, is going to have an issue. And boy, was I right.
You were right. But also, I would like to point out the fact that over the course of the game's existence so far, people were just as mad about other things in the past. There were definitely balance issues, significant balance issues in the past. And what did they do? They fixed them. The fact that the game was in such a good place until Mayhem 2.0 dropped just goes to prove that they can fix anything that might be not completely where we want it to be, right? Yes. And this is such an incredible addition to the game. I think long term, once the sort of balancing and tweaks are made that need to be made, that people are asking for, etc., we'll be in a very, very good place again. This is a massive change to the way we play this game. I think long term, it's going to be a very good change. It makes things a lot more interesting. As somebody that plays this game a completely ridiculous amount of hours every week, every day, I'm really happy to see this because this changes what happens every day for me personally. And I think that it does that as well for a ton of people. So maybe it's a little out of balance right now, but they've already proven that they can get there. And they've already proven that they're on top of things, that they're always constantly fixing stuff. They're always constantly adjusting what needs to be adjusted, and they can get there. They got there just before this. We'll get there again. We'll get there again together because that's what we've done, right? We've worked with them. You guys have worked with them, and they have worked with us, and we appreciate that so much. So we'll get there. Just give them a little bit of time.
That's the crux of it. It's that Gearbox always has growing pains. They have great ideas, and then it takes a little time to conceptualize and actualize those ideas. And Mayhem 2.0 was something that the entire community asked for because everybody was unhappy with Mayhem 1.0, right? Everybody said Mayhem 1.0 was a little too inaccessible for everybody, that the scaling wasn't right, that guns weren't feeling great, that there was no build diversity. And they retooled, and it took them faster than a Gearbox game has ever taken to get to a great point. And then they decide to go ahead and release Mayhem 2.0 to the community to show to everybody that not only are they going to just rest on their laurels and say, we have done it. We made Mayhem good. They said, we can make it better.
Yeah.
And we're going to listen to your suggestions to do so. And that's what they did. Because everybody wanted more intriguing modifiers. Can I just point out one more time? No bullet reflection.
Yeah.
On that alone, everybody should be losing their minds and being the happiest clams I've ever seen in my life. Because if there is one thing that makes Borderlands intolerable for most people, it is bullet reflection. I hate it. It's gone forever. Forever, ever. Ever, 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 ever. Never, ever, ever, ever. No more. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
The only things that might are like anointed alphas. That's it. But there's none in a modifier, so you don't have to worry about every single enemy in the game knocking you down anymore. Yeah. And that alone is like cause for celebration.
Yeah. I think most of the modifiers are a challenge to be met. The only one that I really felt like was just if you end up with this modifier, you're choosing it for yourself and you're just like basically doing a deathless run. Yes. And there are some people that really like that kind of challenge. I personally have done that kind of challenge in other games, whether they be shooters or like Souls-likes. I've never done it in Borderlands, but I'm excited to do it now in Borderlands because you can. But basically that one where you basically have no fight for your life. You go down, you're dead. That's it. You're done.
Yes. Which there is a modifier for that.
Yes, that is a very significant challenge. But some people are up to that challenge, and you never have to, you're never stuck with a modifier. Changing modifiers is super easy. The way that they implemented that, I'm still really, really, really just amazed by. I think they did such a wonderful job. You know, all you have to do is hit Q or whatever the button is on your controller over and over and over again until you get modifiers that you're happy with, and then you keep those modifiers until you want to change them again. And you only get one load screen, and that's it. And it's awesome. I really, really think it's a good system. I do think, I've heard, I'm sure you've heard too, some people say that they would like to be able to just choose their modifiers. I feel like having a little bit of RNG in the modifier rerolls makes it fun, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes you'll try something or you'll try your hand against something that you wouldn't necessarily have chosen. It makes it much more interesting when it combines them in a way that you are not necessarily going to be perfectly geared towards every single time. Now, sometimes you just want those perfect modifiers that will help you or at least not hurt you. I understand, but you can roll for that. And I feel like it would get too boring because people would just choose the modifiers that they like and that's it, and they never play anything else, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think we touched on this a little bit last week. Yeah. And my only conciliatory action I would say is you should be able to pick, if you're going to pick any of them, the easy modifier. Yeah. Because the easy modifier helps you. And that's fine because that is a direct impact on your gameplay. So you can choose that modifier to help you with how you want to play the game. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. As for medium and beyond, no, absolutely not. And if you're going to do that, then I almost feel, and this is like an overhaul, I guess, for Mayhem 3.0. It's almost like an overhaul where you have the beneficial modifier and you segment that off into a different category. And then you have and you would call the medium ones easy ones, the medium ones, the hard ones, the medium ones, and then the very hard ones, the hard ones, and keep them that way. Because I like this. 4 is great. And they are put into the categories they belong in every single time. They're exactly where they should be. I think it's a great system. So I see this as unlocking new potential in the game. And OmniWaffle in the chat saying, yeah, but how do I get the Mitsu modifier? The Mitsu modifier would probably be Galaxy Brain because I love big head mode. And sometimes I am accused of having a big head. I apologize. So that being said, this is only the first 28 modifiers. I guess -2 now because they had to take out Drone Ranger and boundary issues.
Yeah.
So it's 26. And there is more likely than not a commitment and an internal working right now that's saying, hey, these modifiers are pretty good. Let's come up with like 50 more and just shove them all in there. And maybe they'll come up with ones that are even harder than very hard modifiers. Maybe we'll get insane modifiers. Maybe they'll take a page out of Risk of Rain's book and just use that like impossible modifiers.
Yeah.
Insane modifiers. I see you modifiers. I'm coming for you modifiers. And the last one is just the cackling.
Oh man.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Risk of Rain, by the way, a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Great
Super fun game. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't get behind the sentiment that after 1 week we can judge whether or not this has been a success or failure, or that this is just fundamentally completely broken the game again. And I know Mayhem 10 is a lot more of a different beast right now than Mayhem 6 or than Mayhem 4. Mayhem 10 is insane. But there are people out there right now who are proving that it's possible. I'm not one of them because I'm bad at video games. But there are people who can. So I simply posit this question. Is it really that it's broken right now, or is it that everybody hasn't caught up yet? Because it seems that everybody just wanted to jump to Mayhem 10 and didn't listen when we were saying, listen, unless your name is Lazy Data, and I swear to you, this, or Subpar, I heard Subpar did this too, because he can do Mayhem 10 True Takedown, which is bananas to me. Unless you're one of these people, you might have to grind your gear, and that's okay. I'm grinding my gear.
Yeah,
yes,
same.
you
Definitely.
are grinding your gear. It's okay. It's okay to play the game in steps. You don't have to jump right to the end.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, it's like, maybe it needs more balancing, maybe it needs more changes, more different things, etc. But they're working on that, and I definitely don't think it's broken. I think it's a really cool new thing for us to dig our teeth into. I super agree that jumping directly to Mayhem 10 is only for the very, very, very try-hard among us, which there are quite a few of us, and that's awesome. But I mean, the whole point is to have 10 new levels to work through, right? That's supposed to take you time. That's supposed to give you something to chase, right? So I feel like you can't expect, as like, I don't expect as a everyday player to get there immediately. If that had happened, if all of us immediately could jump to Mayhem 10, what would be the point of all of the levels until 10, right? I feel like that would be more broken than what we have now.
Absolutely.
So I think I think it's a great thing that can only get better from here.
Yeah. Let's get the drops sorted. Let us give it a month or so before we grab our pitchforks, but they're not in this game yet, so we can't do that yet. I'm saying that like I know that they're going to be. I don't, because I would hope so, but what is it? Somebody told me the other day that they feel that the pitchfork is basically the Sandhawk in this game now. Because the pitchfork was also a sniper rifle in Borderlands 2 that had a very similar kind of spread, but it was a sniper rifle. But it was, it had the 5-prong attack that went out like that. It was a good gun. But the point is, give it time. Enjoy the climb. There is a climb there. It's not a structured climb like some people were looking for, but it is a metered climb. And Oshasis in chat on Twitch right now giving a great commentary, which hopefully will be implemented in that being able to tell the Mayhem level of gear would be extremely helpful.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree on that one.
That's literally an across-the-board comment that we all get, and they all get all over the place. So I'm sure that they've heard that, and if they at all can make it happen, they will. I hope to see that for sure. And like Mitsu said, give them time. Is Mayhem 10 super perfectly balanced right now? No. Is it totally completely broken? No. It's being worked on.
Yeah. And it's always a work in progress. Borderlands tends to be a very fluid game for the first 2 or 3 years of its life cycle. And then, once things die down a little bit and we can do like a retrospective, with Borderlands 3, this is your life. Once we can do that, then it won't be so bad. I don't know. I think we're just in a growing pains kind of situation, and eventually we will all get to a very happy point where you can do Mayhem 10, I can do Mayhem 10, and everybody listening at home can do Mayhem 10. I want to be there. And you know what? I'm going to be really honest with you. I can, but it's a very limited subsect of content right now, and it is hard because it's supposed to be. But if I wanted to right now, I could go kill Gigamind like 37,000 times. And I would get guns off of doing that, because Gigamind is a loot pinata to a certain extent. But is that the kind of experience I want to have, where I'm just beating on Gigamind because it's the only thing I can beat? No. I want to be able to mob, I want to be able to boss kill, and I want to be able to drive a vehicle and run stuff over. So for me right now, Mayhem 6 makes me happy. But I do want to work my way up there. And I think that that's something that we should all aspire to.
Yeah, I'm definitely nowhere near ready for Mayhem 10. I might be able to do certain activities on Mayhem 10. Like some bosses are easier than other bosses, right?
Yes.
That's the reality. And if you figure out kind of like when to shoot them, how to shoot them, it's the Bloodborne in Borderlands, right? You can play through Bloodborne without ever leveling, without even having a gun. You can literally just punch things. It's going to take you a while, but you can do it.
Yes.
That exists in Borderlands too. There are certain things that you can figure out how to do even when they would normally be incredibly challenging because everything just has so much more health and so much more everything against you, right? There are, like Gigamine, for example, is a boss that you can definitely take down even on super high mayhem modes, even if your gear is not perfect. Celestro and Atomic, who I have farmed so much because they are the guardians of my favorite Siren mod ever in the world. I figured out at first when I was trying to fight them, I was super struggling on Mayhem 6, and then I kind of figured out that I need like the order of which I needed to kill them, like how I needed to move to optimize my route and everything, and then it started to become really quick and easy. So I actually think I probably could do them on Mayhem 10. So it just depends. Things will get easier. Certain things are more doable than other things. Like Molly 1 takedown on Mayhem 10 right now, I don't even want to think about it, but eventually I'll be able to. So we'll get there. We'll get there together.
So with that being said, I think this is a good point where we can actually posit this question: the right direction, as a whole with the Borderlands series. Does the storyline, the art direction, the overall tone and feel of the game feel like it's been going in the right direction since Borderlands 1? And as I mentioned at the top of the show, King Gothalion recently posted on Twitter that he misses the gritty, serious tone of the original game. And I'll read it out loud right here. I'll read the actual tweet to give it some context here. Quote, I wish the tone of Borderlands had never shifted from the dirty/gritty, semi-serious tones of Borderlands 1 to the Anthony Birch meme vomit color fiestas of the sequels. Okay. Now, do I agree with this particular tweet? Yes and no. Here's why. I loved Borderlands 1 because of the social commentary and context of it. Borderlands 1 was supposed to be this dystopian planet of filth and disgust that was only made redeemable if you had money. And the only way you got money was by killing people and selling guns and like looting and shooting. And that was brought together by New You because you could only afford to be resurrected in this universe if you had money to pay to be resurrected. And I thought the entire underlying commentary and theme of that was brilliant. It was so good. Because it's like a commentary on class warfare and stuff like that. And it's done in a very subtle and like sneaky way, but you get the point without it hitting you over the head. Now, unfortunately, to some, we got a different writer for Borderlands 2. Mikey had a lot of input. Mikey Newman was the I believe the lead writer for Borderlands 1. Borderlands 2 is when they did Anthony Birch, and he brought a lot more of a lighthearted tone to it, a lot more memes, if you will, a lot more like silly jokes and commentary, and you can enjoy that too. I think that just because we didn't agree with some of the direction of Borderlands 2, that we can't appreciate some of the finer points of it. Tiny Tina on her first playthrough, I loved. Subsequent playthroughs, well, we can debate that. But where would we wouldn't have Handsome Jack. And I mean, a lot of Handsome Jack was Damian Clark, honestly. That man lives and breathes that voice into that character and gives that character life. Life beyond life. And if it was not for him, I don't think anybody else could have nailed that role quite as well as Damian Clark did. So, but I don't know. What do you think, Tess? Like, where are we at? Do you really think that like this is kind of a misstep where we're going now, or that we had our dark and gritty and now we're just going to kind of go into this more lighthearted and whimsical, and that's okay?
I mean, there is a time and a place for dark and gritty, and there's a time and a place for lighthearted and whimsical. And when you have a game that is like multiple worlds, it spans galaxies and it's so expansive, and you're meant to spend a lot of time in those worlds enjoying yourself, and grinding and doing things. I feel like some balance of the two is really what you'd like to see, what I'd like to see. I like the colorfulness, the humor. In my honest opinion, when games lose that, they stop being games and they stop being fun. For
Yeah.
me personally, like I'm not saying it should all be slapstick or all be, humor and no seriousness and no feels or anything like that. Absolutely, that stuff, tugging on your heartstrings, making you feel a certain way. That's great in any kind of fictional media, whether it be a book or movie or a video game. Um, Interesting concepts like classes and resurrection and the wealthy versus the very 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 much not. All of these things are cool to talk about and interesting to have these concepts in a game, but there also needs to be that humor, there also needs to be that lightheartedness. Well, most of us play video games. I mean, some of us play video games as a job, but a lot of people play video games as an escape, as a pastime, as something that gives them hope, something that gives them joy in their everyday when they're struggling. And especially with where the world is right now and how much everybody is struggling and stressed, I think the lightheartedness is exactly what we need. So I disagree with Goth. I respect him very much, but in this sense, I disagree. I don't think that I think that the game could be a little bit more serious in some ways, yes, but I
Hmm.
definitely don't think the colorfulness, the art style, definitely don't think that the humor needs to go anywhere. I think it's exactly where it needs to be right now.
Scrubs. Scrubs was a show that could get you from laughing in tears to weeping tears of sadness and sorrow in the span of about one hard cut. Where do you think we are right now? And then every Scrubs fan started crying, myself included. That's all it took. And so I think the direction of Borderlands 3 in terms of the writing overall was better than 2, except in terms of actually fleshing out the Calypso twins. I wish we had more time with them, but you can only do so much when you're trying to hit a 40-hour mark in a game and explain why these people are bad when we really didn't get too much interactivity with them. And hopefully we'll get to talk more with the driving forces behind the story in future podcasts, because I would love to actually get their thoughts
Yeah,
on
I'd love to
that.
talk to them
Oh
about
yeah.
why they do the things they do and where we're going. I'd love to know more about some of the lore as well. That would be really cool.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see.
I if so the way I can rectify this is I think that, and I was really hoping, because there was an opportunity here in Borderlands 3 for them to do this, they could have dragged New You back kicking and screaming into the canon. And they could have found ways to retcon it so that New You could still be incorporated into this universe. And I'm a little sad that they didn't take advantage of that. I don't know why, but it's not my call. But I'm very attached to it because I think that it was a brilliant concept that just felt, by the wayside. And it made me sad. So there's only so much we can do with that. I don't know. We have to march forwards. You can't just go back for the sake of going back. You don't want to. Gearbox is never somebody who likes to rehash their old content. They did something new but different, but similar with the Handsome Heist. But I think that we're done seeing Jack, perhaps forever. If not forever, then I don't think he shows up, or Timmy shows up in a mainline Borderlands game. At least any DLCs for the foreseeable future. Maybe he shows up in a DLC in 4 if there's a 4, or maybe even 5 if we're looking that far down the road. It's just they don't want to just dig up Jack's corpse and bring him back again and again and again. As much as we love him, I guarantee chat's probably on fire right now, being like, Handsome Jack was the greatest thing ever, because he was. But Borderlands isn't like Batman. He's not the Joker. We can't just have the Joker show up again. We gotta move forward. And it sucks because I love Jack as much as probably everybody else does, if not more. He's just that good. A villain you love to hate, Dr. Cox. But only sometimes you get him.
Yeah, I mean, I am the one person you definitely cannot tell that Maya dying was a good thing, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's true.
But it happened. It sucked. We got to move past it, right? We've got to see what happens in the game in the future. We've got to know how the other characters that loved her and cared about her react to her. So hopefully in a DLC sometime, or something, we'll find out. And I mean, I'm not happy with certain things that happened in the story, obviously, but I think the overall has been a ton of fun, both in the main story and especially in the DLC. So I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm excited to see them make positive changes to Mayhem mode, balancing and fixes and stuff like that. Hopefully getting us like some kind of way to know where our guns are coming from, which Mayhem mode. Hopefully that would be a thing. That would be great. And what comes next in future events. We've got the Guardian takedown event soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometime soon.
Oh, I mean, yes. The Guardian takedown, it's sometime in May. So be looking forward to that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the wrap up. But yes, Guardian takedown should be coming sometime next month in 7 hours. Yeah, it's May, by the way. That rhymes, so it must be true. Yeah, I don't know. We march forward. And a lot of what Chad is saying right now is very true. Maya deserved better. Lilith deserved better. Yeah, I think that the two of us can definitely echo that sentiment. But I'll give them this much. They kind of wrote themselves in a corner. And there's an old saying of art through adversity. So I would love to see how they write themselves back out of the corner. How everything with Lilith ties into whatever the next game is, whenever that happens. What is Maya's book and where does it fit into the story? And why Ava? That's the question I ask a lot, and that's the most polite form of how I ask that question. Why Ava? And that's the debate. That's the debate that we have right now. So
yeah, I hope that gets answered. I really do. I want to believe in her only because Maya believed in her. So like, I feel like there has to be a reason. There has to be. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So all right, enough of the heavy stuff. Let's move on and start wrapping up here. I wanted to point out something really cool that came out this past week for a limited time. There is a Revenge of the Cartels shirt, and I want it really, really badly. I want it bad. It's very nice. It is a beautiful shirt. Hopefully you guys get there. It is. Oh my god, that logo just screams 80s vibe.
Yes.
And I am a huge 80s guy. I'm a swinging 80s guy. Dun, 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 dun. What? No Futurama fans? All right, never mind. All right, we're good. Yeah. What did you think of this thing? Look at this.
It looks great. It looks great. I want one very, very badly, actually. But I want everything Borderlands. It's so good. So I hope that it's something that we can all get. It's really cool. I want to see them do more stuff like this. I want to see them do more themed items that we can rock on stream and stuff.
Yeah. And scarves.
Yeah.
And scarves, please. I'm so can't please. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it. Store.2k.com. If you want to pick up the Revenge of the Cartel shirt, $15, which is a lot less than I thought it would be, because usually limited run shirts are expensive. I was expecting to be somewhere in the 20 to 30 range, but only 15 plus, I imagine, shipping to wherever you need it to go. But it is a beautiful shirt, and I hope that you guys will pick it up. Just as a visual, for those of you in Radio Land, it is just the Revenge of the Cartels words, Revenge of the Cartels logo. But if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, and you know it's got that gold and pink and neon 80s vibe to it. So if you've seen it and you identify with it and you like it, store.2k.com, pick it up, make it happen. I think it's a wonderful shirt. So
cool. Yeah. Pretty great. So Promethea, this week's Loot Universe event target, Guardian Takedown still to come next month.
Yes.
And anything else, Mitsu, for today?
Oh boy. I think we're good. I think we covered it all. Like I said, there's just so much out there. Again, store.2k.com if you want that shirt, support.2k.com if you have any issues with the game that you'd like to arise when it comes to either, I think, providing feedback, although that is better left to Twitter and Reddit, and letting us know on Discord. We do have a Borderlands Discord, an official one. It's pretty cool. You should go there and check it out. So there are many avenues for you to be able to express everything that you have in the game. You could also talk to anybody that's a member of the stream team, and more to come on that soon. And you can let us know. And we have just been constantly, as I said earlier in the show, providing them endless feedback. Sometimes it's been rough, but we've gotten to a great place through that feedback. That's thanks to you guys. That's thanks to everybody at Gearbox being receptive to that. And that's thanks to just a general understanding that we can be a community and have open lines of communication with each other without fear of misunderstandings or hatred. So it's something beautiful to say. And I hope we can continue nurturing that relationship and bringing it closer and closer together as time goes on. So with that being said, I think that about wraps it up. We will see you all next week, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, right here on the official Borderlands channel. If you are listening, thank you so much for listening on Spotify, Stitcher, that's going to be my favorite forever and ever and ever, and SoundCloud, as well as if you're watching on the VOD on Twitch or on YouTube, or if you're watching on Steam, for those of you who are joining us there, thank you so much for as well. And we appreciate the ever-loving heck out of you guys. On behalf of Tess, myself, and everybody at Gearbox and 2K, thank you so much for joining us as you do every single week. Now go forth and make some mayhem. We will see you next week.